Tonight, we got Ray Evernham. I know you guys are going, Lou, how did you manage to pull that off? It was actually pretty simple. Me and Ray met years ago in California, and I told him I live in North Carolina. He was like, no way. I said, yes, wait, really? And next thing you know, I said, hey, Ray, at the auto fair a couple months ago, I said, hey, I got to do a little podcast. You want to come on? He said, sure thing, Lou. He has no idea what he's getting into, but that's okay. But before we get to talk to John and Ray, I want to tell you guys, I know last week's show was a little bit different than what we normally do, but you guys really need to help out Set Apart Farms. They're doing good things. Tell everybody about them. Spread the word. Like, share, do all the things you got to do because we're trying to keep this show alive. So we're going to go to a commercial, and then me and John are going to tell some lies, and then we're bringing in Ray. Hit it, Ken.
Did you want to get the fur?
Oh, you got the fur?
It's through the door.
You got the fur? Go get the fur. Go get the fur. Bring a chunk of the fur. Hurry up. Chop, chop. We ain't got all day.
All right. I got the fur.
Sweet.
This looks good. This is
Oh, yeah.
it's Puerto Rican purple.
It is. It is. And so wasn't there like a yellow or a green?
It's actually an olive green. It's not a bright yellow.
Okay.
And there's a sky blue.
Oh, God.
Yeah, but there's about 4 different colors inside.
There
But
you
I
go.
got it. I mean, this is it.
That's awesome.
That's the shit, man.
Dude.
I want to make a pair of pajamas.
There you go. There you go. There you go, guys. So when all this is done, are we going to take it like on Power Tour or something?
We'll definitely run this thing. Either that or Barrett Jackson. We're talking about Barrett Jackson.
Are we going to drive out to Barrett Jackson?
We could do that.
That's
probably 3,000 miles.
So what?
Yeah. No test drive. Just get in and go.
That's how I roll. All right, so there you have it. The Sticky Green Love Machine has been introduced officially on Garage Insider and 3 Lefts Don't Make a Right.
Boom, the sticky, not 64, Sticky Green Love Machine.
Yeah, some people thought you said 63 Love Machine when you're saying Sticky Green Love Machine. Yeah, like I haven't seen the hashtags. But for people that don't know that are just tuning in, we're building a car that looks just like the Cheech and Chong car from the movie Up in Smoke. 45th anniversary in 2023. But it's going to have all the details, everything just like the movie car. I even have a smoke machine. So 6'2", LSA.
Did you ever hook up the smoke machine?
Hooked the smoke machine up last.
Did you ever get it hooked up? Did you try it? I mean,
I tried. The one I had when you were here.
Yeah,
it was about this big, and
right.
It barely puffed. I mean, it wouldn't fill the car.
Really?
So I went and got the commercial size, which is about this big for like
the heavy shit I ever smoked, man. I mean, I smoked a lot of shit before, man. But goddamn, man, that's heavy shit. You okay? I can't breathe.
Lou, that's like 3 seconds of
Oh
puff.
my God.
It filled the entire car up. It was coming out of everywhere. I shut it off.
Oh
We were
my
laughing so
God.
hard I couldn't take it.
I don't think Ray's going to want to talk to us after this. He's shaking his head right now. What did I get into?
You can't see this, but I got incense that smells like cannabis. I'm going to put in the inside the car. I just got this today. It's green. With the green screen, it doesn't show up. It disappears.
Right. I saw cannabis. There it is. Oh my God. So, dude, check this out.
Huh.
Before we get going. So I'm surfing Amazon, right?
Yeah.
And I was looking for one of these because they, you just can't buy them. At least every time I've tried to buy the auto darkening setup for my older welding shields because they're dead.
Right.
Amazon had this bad boy. I think it was $14.
Really? Just goes in the
Yeah,
same.
and I test fitted it. I test fitted it in my old Lincoln and my old Miller shield. This is the Miller Classic. It's so old.
Yeah.
And it fit right in. So what I got, it didn't have the grunt, it didn't have this piece. So you can change the color of the lens.
Yeah.
The darkness, I mean.
Yeah.
But that's nothing. I just had to drill 2 holes, boom. But I got to get a little nut for the stud here. And then tomorrow I'm gonna try this bad boy out. And if it works, I'm gonna get like 3 more of them.
Yeah. Tell me if it works out for you.
That's the welding shield I ordered. Yeah, boy.
Your wife's gonna love you. Your wife's gonna love you. Everybody around you is gonna be
She
bumping
already
into
saw
you.
it. She saw it because whenever I buy stuff on Amazon, she gets the notification. And she's
Yeah.
like, "How many welding shields do you need?"
hmm
I said, "Well, I gave all my other ones away, so I only have 2 now."
Mine is slow. I mean, there's a slight delay in it, but it's been sitting in the dark. I gotta put it underneath the light or get a new battery or something.
We'll put it underneath the light. If not, we can probably make this work.
Yeah, it probably fits right in a hole.
Yeah, I mean, I measured mine up, and I think they're all pretty much a standard size. But I mean, it dropped right in like it belonged there. So I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try it, and if it works, it's golden,
Yeah, for
baby. And this one's battery
$15.
backup. It's battery backup.
You doing your
Yes.
American Badass whiskey? You get your second
Yes.
bottle?
Yes, I got the new one.
Look, I got about an inch left.
You know, are you becoming a drunk?
Beyond that, I put a little bit of this vermouth in there for anybody that cares. Italian vermouth.
Why are you putting vermouth in? That stuff is so smooth. You don't need vermouth.
I know, but a little bit of this, a little bit of that with some ice. Beesh.
Okay.
Good stuff. It is good stuff. You know the deal.
I know. So Kevin Warner wanted to know about 0 to 60.
0 to 60 is in work. We shot the video when Lou was up. Gathering content now. We're behind schedule, but it's on its way.
Cute.
Road trip to Barrett Jackson sounds awesome.
Yes, it will.
So, the other thing is too, behind me, new
Clap
sponsor.
Industries?
New sponsor.
Really?
Yeah, talked to him Monday. So things are in the work. We talked about Sticky Green.
Cool.
We talked about doing the power tour and possibly them jumping on some way up somehow. Their concern was if I took it to Barrett Jackson too soon, there's not enough coverage on the car. They want to get coverage on Sticky Green.
Yeah.
So the power tour is right up their alley. And we talked about putting this thing in their booth at SEMA. Don't know if that's going to happen, but they were laughing when I told them about the remote control smoke machine. Like that threw over. You could plug it in the house current. I need a converter to make it work.
You need an inverter.
The heaviest shit I ever smoked, man. I mean, I smoked a lot of shit before, man. But goddamn, man, that's heavy shit. You okay? I can breathe.
That's so funny.
Cheech.
God.
So hopefully some of that happens. Yeah. Go ahead.
Let's get this show rolling before we lose everybody. Let's get Ray on here, and then I'm sure Ray will have something to say about the smoke machine.
You got to hit syntheticadvantage.com comes up first. Then Ray comes out.
All right, hit it, Ken.
Yep.
So did you guys know that AMSOIL is the corporate entity, and then they have independent dealers who sell their products? So here's the thing. We called up Nick at syntheticadvantage.com. And we said, Nick, we're doing the Sticky Green Love Machine, and we don't want it to be so sticky. And he said, guys, I got you. And here's our oil, right? So we've got all the fluids we need to get the Sticky Green Love Machine not so sticky. Check them out, syntheticadvantage.com. Tell Nick Lou sent you. Yeah. Guys, I misspoke. I showed you ATF. That's fantastic. It's fine. But they also send essential soil. Synthetic advantage. Yeah, that's right, Nick.
There you go. Lou doing stand up while he's doing a pitch. He's a huckster.
What's up, Ray?
How are you? I'm embarrassed because you guys have got all this cool stuff behind you. You got cars, you got sponsors. I'm in like a bare thing with some empty bottles and somebody's ashes and a pot
Ray.
behind me. Like, man.
All you had to do was call me. We could have came in and decorated.
Man, we could
have set you a bottle.
We could have got
whiskey,
together
right?
and did this live. I mean, you're only a few miles away from me.
I know, right?
Should have.
Next time, if you like it, if you like this one, next time we can do it. We can sit in the same room and we can yell at John.
Hey,
on the
I'm
TV
having
together.
fun watching. I should have known you had all these cool people on, and I'm sitting here like, yeah, hey, I was going from work. I'm sitting in my empty office. You know.
It's all good. It's all
It's
good.
all right, Ray. Next time you'll have more stuff in there. We'll cause a scene. It's okay.
Okay.
So, John, I met Ray 16 years ago, something like that.
It's been a while, yeah.
It was crazy because I went to the Grand National Roadster show and I'm hanging out and Ray sees me, I see him, we walk up to each other and I go, you know, Ray, it's really strange how we had to come all the way to California to meet each other. He's like, what do you mean? I said, I live in Kannapolis. He's like, what?
Yeah, I've been and you're like, oh yeah, I'm right down in Kannapolis. I'm like, what?
Yeah, it's crazy. Ray froze up.
He did.
Ray froze up. He's frozen hard. Look at it. He's frozen. I don't know what happened. But anyway, so John, you know, this coupe. There he is. Ray, you're back. Oh, you get sound?
Right, speak. Can you hear us? He's got to come out and come back in.
Yeah. Hold on.
Right, you got to, if you can hear us, you got to exit and then come back in. You got to go back to the link and hit the link. Yeah, there you go. I met Ray at the Motor Trend party at Seaman.
Oh, yeah.
You don't remember because I was a nobody. There's no yelling across the room. Hey, Ray. Hey, John. None of that shit. Who the heck is this guy?
Ray, he still ain't got. What happened?
Can you hear?
I don't know. Ray, can you hear us?
Man, it was working fine up to 2 seconds ago.
He can't hear us.
Run down the street, will you, Lou? Hook him up.
I know. I'm gonna have to try to Mooresville.
Scooby do it.
Crazy.
He'll be back. He's got to jump on the link and reboot. Either that or there's a blip in the internet.
Yeah, it's. But anyway, so this car behind me is one that the skinny guy painted. He built. Minus the fenders. This is before the fenders were put on. Yeah.
Okay.
Brent did it.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, the skinny guy. It's one of his. He did it for some lady. I don't know the whole story on it, but he cut a lot of metal out of it. A lot of metal out of it. Put it all
rusty?
Back in. Huh?
Is it rusted out?
Yeah, it was bad. It needed a new firewall all the way back. Like 6 inches at the bottom of the doors was gone. I mean, it was bad.
Yeah. That's a lot of work. You're better off buying a steel one and reproduction.
Dude,
that's a lot of work.
Dude, the skinny guy's the man when it comes to putting shit back together, man. He's no joke.
Yeah.
He's no joke. So
what?
We still don't have Ray. What's going on?
He'll be back. What do you want to talk about?
Well, what are we talking about for the sticky green love machine?
Well, I got the cross members roughed in. I just got more argon. I was totally out. I tried using. Here he comes. There he is.
Try it again.
There he is.
There you go.
We can hear you. We can see you. We're good.
I'm thinking, why does that have to happen to me, right?
It's okay, Ray. It happens to us all the time. Don't worry.
It's live and things happen. So we had Linda Vaughn on. She kept blipping out throughout the entire show. We had her on the phone, then we got her on the internet. It was the worst show ever, but her stories were fantastic.
Yeah.
We got to actually have her back on.
Yeah. She is amazing.
She is.
A lot of history.
Yeah.
A lot of history.
There's a ton of history there.
Ray, let's jump into it. When I saw you were from New Jersey, what's the deal? How's a guy go from New Jersey to NASCAR to Charlotte?
Oh, man. I always tell everybody I'm from South Jersey, so that helped me get into some of the motorsport thing with NASCAR. But look, I swear to you, I'm the Forrest Gump of motorsports, right? I have no idea how I end up in places. You meet these people that go, oh yeah, I'll try that. Again, started to work with the Penske group with IROC. They moved it to Tinton Falls, New Jersey, there by the shore. I was racing a little local track called Wall Stadium, bouncing around there off the fences and whatnot. And I just, so I went to IROC and applied for a job, because I needed to make a living. And I was like, oh, these people are going to pay me to work on race cars. And got to spend some time with the greatest drivers in the world and, met some people. And I got an opportunity to work with this Jeff Gordon kid, right? So, and I was like, hey,
he was a nobody.
you know, oh wow! And when I saw him drive, it was like if you were wanting to be a golfer and played with Tiger Woods in his prime, you're like, I'll probably just be a caddy. You know, and then from Gordon it went into Dodge, and but you know, all of a sudden you're like, how in the heck did I get here? And you have no idea. But every time an opportunity came up, I happened to be looking for a job.
Where at in South Jersey? I'm right over the Walt Whitman Bridge. I'm right on the PA Delaware border. So that's
I lived in a town called Hazlitt most of my life, but right on the Jersey Shore, the Bay Shore, really, the Atlantic Highlands area. As I said, I raced in. My shop was in Manasquan. My first race shop was in Manasquan, New Jersey. So right along the shore there. But did some racing down in Bridgeport. We used to go over to Delaware, you know, quite a bit. Pennsylvania, ran PA a good bit. But you know, up and down that East Coast thing, mostly with my cars.
Yeah. So how do you move from there to what's the next move that you got? When did you get out of town? Get out of Jersey?
Well, so I was trying to race. You know, I wanted to race. I wanted to be a driver. And I was working on cars and doing things. And in '91, I got hurt racing at Flemington. And
tell us about that. I read about that. That sounds. We looked for pictures and stuff of it. We couldn't find it.
It was, man, Flemington was so cool. You know, when it was dirt, it was amazing. But they paved it, and when they paved it, it became wicked fast. And
really,
oh man, it was fast. I think I held the track record there in '91 for a little while. It was a 5/8 of a mile oval, you know, flat. It was a square, but you ran it like you know, almost like a skid pad. It was averaged 136 miles an hour, something like that, like a low, like a 16.0 something, crazy speed, over 130 average. But got hurt, got a head injury, and really made a bit of a comeback. Came back, won a race, but I knew. Shouldn't have been driving. You know what I mean? Really had a lot of concussion syndromes and symptoms and stuff. And it just, Andy Petrie called me up and said, hey, you know, why don't you come help this kid Gordon? And you know, Jeff and I hit it off and actually moved to North Carolina in January 2nd of 1992, but didn't go to work for Jeff, went to work for Alan Kowicki, you know, and loved Kowicki. I was doing shocks and things with him out of my own business and thought we were going to get along good, and went down there, and in 2 days we were throwing stuff at one another. I mean, literally throwing friggin' tape measures at one another, yelling and screaming. So we lasted about 3 weeks, and we had basically a friggin' brawl at the day before the Daytona 500. Wow. Crazy story, but I was walking out the gate, and the Ford people, I bumped into Preston Miller and Lee Morris. I don't know if you remember those guys from Ford or not. They used to be the Ford racing guys, and they said, "Where are you going?" I said, "Going home." And they said, "To the hotel?" I said, "No, Jersey, I'm going home. I got no job. I quit. Screw this, whatever." No, I calm down. And they put me over with Jeff, because Jeff and I had run 3 or 4 races together in '90. And '91, he really didn't run as good as he wanted. And we had hit it off so well, they decided to put me over with Jeff Gordon. Ford actually put me over there to help Jeff with his chassis, to get his car handling. And we immediately, like the first race we went to, we sat on the pole, but missed the race setup a little bit. Finished in the top 10. Second race we went to, sat on the pole, missed the race setup. So, you know, we decided we're going to go and test Atlanta. And I went down, we tested Atlanta with the Bill Davis group that time with that Baby Ruth car, and tried some different things, you know, and we hit a setup, man, and that thing took off. So we sat on the pole at Atlanta and won the race. And that's when Rick Hendrick really saw Jeff Gordon. He's like, who is this kid just driving around here sideways? Because that day we beat Earnhardt and Mark Martin and a bunch of Cup guys, and nobody even knew who the hell we were, you know?
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy.
That is
cool.
Cool. How old were you then?
I'm like Forrest Gump, I'm telling you. Like one day I'm
were you even 30?
The next day
were you even 30 years old?
You know?
Ray, were you even 30 years old at the time?
I was, you know, I was actually 34 when I moved down there. So, you know, I was born in '57. So, you know, the good car people born in '57. So, you know, I actually became a Cup crew chief within a year after I moved down here, which is crazy. I had no experience, and I go from racing modifieds at Wall Stadium in Flemington to being a Cup crew chief in the Daytona 500. in 1993, and we damn near win the thing. And then we're Cup champions by 95. So in 3 years, Jeff and I started with, no experience, and we end up winning the Cup championship.
Right. When you're in that position and they're saying, here, step up, this is you, this is now what you're supposed to do. How do you approach that? What are you thinking at the time?
Honestly, I knew we had a big job to do, and I was pretty fortunate. You got to remember, when I started at Hendrick, Waddell Wilson was there, Harry Hyde was there. And Harry Hyde was truly 100% truly just like Harry Hogg in the movie. Because Days of Thunder was based off Harry Hyde and Tim Richmond, right? And Harry Hyde used to come down and he'd say stuff. I was telling somebody the other day, I'm working on the geometry and I'm getting the front end right and I'm working on the roll center, and Harry'd come down there chewing the tobacco on the whole deal, and he'd go, "What are you doing?" It's like, "Man, I got to figure out this roll center, Harry. I'm going to figure out, where it's got to whatever." And he looks at me and goes, "Son, let me tell you, that roll center don't matter nothing. It's how big your driver's balls are in the middle of the corner. You understand what I'm telling you?" So I was trained by good, you're like, okay. So I watched Days of Thunder over and over again and asked very high questions, You're like, but we brought in a bunch of people that didn't have experience, and we did stuff differently. We built the cars differently. I looked at a lot of strategy differently. I watched tapes over and over again. I'm going to tell you, I didn't want to be the crew chief. I was scared to death to talk on the radio. I thought to myself, I have no experience. But Rick Hendrick, the guy that he is, Rick Hendrick's an amazing guy, right? Amazing. He sees more in people than they see in themselves. I told Rick, I said, look, I don't want to be the crew chief. I'm a chassis guy. I'm a fabricator. Let me do this and get another crew chief. He's like, nah, Jeff wants you to be the crew chief. And I was like, well, I don't want to be the crew chief. He said, hey, it's the only job I got. Take it or leave it.
Wow.
Jesus.
And I ended up being a crew chief. Again, Forrest Gump. Never in a million years of my whole life, I was thinking, I'm going to grow up, I'm going to be a Winston Cup crew chief. Nope, just ended up being one.
That's insane. That is
And stuff. It's happened over and over again in my life, like the whole the Dodge deal, or meeting these, meeting some of the people that I've met. All of a sudden, you're just. I keep remember the old Eddie and the Cruisers movies where the guy goes, "We're not great. We're just some guys from Jersey." I mean, that's the way. Like, you end up at the White House, or you end up backstage with Springsteen, or you end up in a movie and you're like, I don't know, the stuff
that is pretty cool.
That's crazy. It's true. It's same with me. It's weird because you don't. It's kind of strange because like the first time I started meeting all these people, you're sitting in I'd sit there with Jan. I'm like, dude, this is insane. Why do they even want to talk to us? You know what I mean?
Well, and you realize that they watch you on TV and they're a fan.
I know.
The other night we're in Nashville and we go love the Mavericks, right? And JD McPherson, like, look, two of my favorite bands. So my buddy Scott Borchetta arranges for me to go backstage and meet Raoul Moll. And Raoul comes out, he goes, "Oh, Ray Evernham, man, I'm a fan." And I'm like, no, wait, I'm a fan. And so it turns out he's a Jeff Gordon fan. And I'm thinking, you're like, wow. I don't know if you've ever seen the Mavericks live. I'm telling you, they blow the roof off that place. They are freaking fantastic. That
good energy.
They rocked straight for 2.5 hours. Nobody sat down. Yeah.
Wow.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Ray, I heard that in order to shave time on your pit crew, you watched movies and shaved it almost 5 seconds from 20 to 15. How did you go about that? What made you think to do that?
Yeah. We ended up getting way down. Before I left, we really hammered that down. But I watched a lot of people, work so hard on the car, like, and think about things, and then I thought, man, these mechanics are working so hard during the day, and then they don't pit practice, or they want them to do a pit deal. And I thought, why not get people trained just to do that? And I'm not the first one that thought about training and choreography. The Wood brothers are the father of the pit stop, no doubt. Leonard Wood and Glenn Wood, brilliant people. And what I did was take that idea and make it better by bringing in athletes, right? And letting them, letting my mechanics work on the car and make it go faster, and let those guys work their job, how to make a pit stop faster. And we brought guys in that had never pitted a car before, didn't even know how to work on a car. A guy named Andy Papathanassiou, Andy Papa, we just call him Andy Papa. He came from Stanford University. He was a football player, and he came in and put a group of guys who there's some really good college athletes that didn't go to the pros. So he went out and recruited some of these guys to come in and work on pit stops, and they were full time on that, and they focused on it. And man, we were killing it. I remember I wanted to buy some weight equipment and whatnot, and it wasn't in the budget. So Mr. Hendrick, again, just like the movie, he'd come cruising in. We're working there on a Saturday or Sunday. He comes cruising down to see what his new race team is. He started this DuPont race team with Jeff Gordon and this unknown crew chief guy. And he comes in, and there's people running up and down on the front lawn of the shop, carrying each other on their backs, and they're doing all kind of, like sack kind of races. And he's like, he just pulls in, he goes, "What in the hell are you boys doing?" You know what I mean? We said, "Look, we're trying to get these guys to physically train." And he's like, I said, "Mr. Hendrick, I was watching, some of the pit stops, and, guys are kind of out of shape. And you see a front tire changer. I remember this guy in a very good car, a competitive car, goes over the wall smoking a cigarette, wearing cowboy boots, like yeehaw." And I was like, wait a minute, these guys could beat him. So we worked on getting athletes together and working on choreography, and knock the pit stops down quickly a bunch. And won the World Pit Crew Championship twice with that team.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ray, do you think
it makes sense? When you think about it, it makes sense. You get a lot of these guys, like you get some of these linebackers, even at the college level, they've got that burst of speed. You know what I mean? So they're used to that quick reaction, So
and they didn't know how to, they didn't have to know to work on the car. They didn't have to do that. They just knew how to, you get one of those big linebacker guys and you look and go, "Look, I need you to put this tire on. It weighs 70 pounds.
Yeah.
You need to take this tire and put it on those lug nuts. So that little guy right there can tighten up those lug nuts as fast as he can." And they'd be like, "Yeah." It was kind of like the longest show. Okay.
yeah.
Fire.
I got it.
Yeah. And then reach in there with one hand, woof, the gas man, that gas can weighs almost 100 pounds with the fuel in it, and you want a guy that's tall. We used to get these guys tall, like 6'2", 6'4", and they'd get that can up in the air and boom, that pressure, get that fuel.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's why. I mean, I would have never thought of that. Honestly, I never thought of that.
I had to think of something. I needed to keep my job.
Yeah,
it could be creative.
Yeah, because God knows you didn't want the job.
What do they call that? The imposter syndrome, where you're waking up every morning going, "I hope nobody finds out that I have no clue what I'm doing."
You may think that, but that's not how it happens. That's not it. Ray, do you think that you're the type of guy that overanalyzes everything?
Absolutely. And that's my best qualities are also my worst qualities, but I don't know how to separate them. There are a lot of things that you have to overanalyze, to make a decision, right? I always tell everybody, when you analyze something, just about everything you do in sports or business or whatever is a gamble, right? So all you're trying to do by analyzing is reducing the odds. And sometimes I overanalyze stuff that's just not that important, right? And it takes away from the stuff that isn't. But again, through years of therapy and thousands of dollars, I still haven't got that figured out.
No, but the reason I ask is because doing research and looking into you, it seemed like guys would say that they would tell you what the car was doing without explaining what it was actually doing, like the reaction times and things, and you would be able to make adjustments based off what they're saying and not experience yourself. So in order to do that, you have to overthink everything.
I don't think you have to overthink, but I think you have to be confident in what you know. I've always had a pretty good understanding of how chassis and suspension and weight transfer and the load on the tire, right? The whole thing with the race car, or any car, right, is the load on the tire, because that's the only thing that turns it, stops it, starts it, right? So understanding how that works. So that came from my years at IROC working with Goodyear. I worked with Goodyear closely on the development of the radial tire, did a lot of the testing with them, and was closely involved in the development of the Penske shock absorber. So it was really, again, all about tires and traction. And I think if this, not that I have any kind of a 3D mind, but I'm able to have a good picture in my mind of how suspension's working and where the weight is going and how the shock is working. And when you have a driver that can explain to you what he's feeling and what it's doing, rather than a guy that, some guys will come in and they're great drivers, but they go, well, I think we ought to lower the track bar. I think I need a little more right front spring, or I think we'll put a bigger sway bar in it. That's not really helping it figure it out sometimes. Right. But a guy like Jeff Gordon and a guy like Bill Elliott, Jeff Gordon was amazing about telling you what was happening in the car. And that tells you, a guy like that is so good. Like, he's so comfortable in his environment. Like, I drive race cars and I go fast. And you know what? I'm thinking 90% of the time about not hitting anything or saving my life, not about what the car is doing, right? And most drivers are going to come in and all they can do is remember the last thing that happened. Like, if they think, man, this thing almost spun out off the corner, that's what they're going to tell you. But they don't tell you that, that they couldn't turn in the center of the corner, and that the car rotated because they had the wheel turned too far. Where Jeff Gordon could stop and think about the lap, and he'd say, I feel right here that the weight is transferred off the left front onto the right rear, and it's rolled over a little bit, and right here there's a little bump, and then that would allow me to make a lot of adjustments. And Bill Elliott is the same way. I tell everybody, look, Bill Elliott, the two guys that I know that if I put a silver dollar out on the racetrack, they could find it at 200 miles an hour and hit it, okay? Biggest difference, Bill Elliott could tell you if it was heads or tails. Jeff Gordon would stop, pick it up, put it in his pocket, and go invest it.
There you go.
Yeah. But, that makes sense, though, because did you know Paul Wise?
I don't think I did.
Around the corner from me. He's since passed away, but he was a NASCAR fabricator, and I went over to his house to ask him a question, and he was watching the race, and it was the driver's side rear screw jack, and during the pit stop, the guy jams the extender, and he's cranking on this ratchet, and Paul goes, "See that? Someone doesn't know what they're talking about. Putting all that adjustment in." The guy was there the whole pit, cranking on it. I mean, it was 20 seconds of cranking on it. Paul said, he goes, either the driver doesn't know what he's feeling or the crew chief doesn't know what he's telling him to do.
Yeah, when you're putting that much in it.
And it goes to what you just said. If you got a guy that can tell you what's going on, it makes your life so much easier as a crew chief. That makes total sense.
Yeah, I've told people, like, look, if you couldn't set up a car for Jeff Gordon, you shouldn't even be holding the wrench. As a crew chief, we used to have a little joke about those wedge bolts. The driver, before the start of the race, we'd put like a round in the left rear, and then we'd take it out, and we'd say to the driver, like, did you see we did that already? Because that's what you're going to have us do the first two pit stops. Put a round in, take a round out. So it's already done. Don't waste time telling me.
Yeah, figure it out.
So is IROC still around?
IROC is not. One of the things I'm working on, I've been collecting a lot of IROC cars because I think that, there's not many cars around that have some of the history that, you look at these old Formula One drivers. Like, one of the cars that I have in my collection right now that we're restoring was an IROC car driven by Niki Lauda and Peter Craig, Mario Andretti. And then it was converted to a Trans Am car and actually won a race at Laguna Seca with George Fulmer driving it. I've got another IROC car that was used Darrell Waltrip won a race in, Gordon Johncock won a race in, but it was used as a promo for movie stars. Clint Eastwood drove it. James Brolin drove it. Gene Hackman drove it.
Damn.
Paul Newman drove it. Hey, I'm going to tell you, Gene Hackman was the man. I've got the book. Hackman was the quickest in the car. Like, he was faster than Newman. Hackman was a pretty good driver. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. But so, to me, IROC cars are really special, especially the old ones. I've got some, I don't have the Porsche. The Porsche, like, they're crazy expensive right now, but I've got Gen 1 Camaros, the 74 to 77. And I've got when they switched to the tube frame cars, the Banjo Matthews cars, I've got some of those. And then we've got, one of the cars that I actually built, I built, when I say I did it with certainly a great group of people there. But the Banjo Matthews chassis from 83 to 89. And those cars were Camaros, and then they were Dodge Avengers, and then they were Dodge Daytonas, or vice versa.
Yeah, I remember the first gen Camaro, the third gen. The second gen Camaro, the third gen, and I remember the Daytonas. Yeah. I didn't know that they had a bunch of other stuff. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Then they changed over to Firebirds. So neat stuff. They're. I just think that the cars are neat with a lot of history. Jay Signori, who ran that program for Roger Penske, was probably like my biggest mentor. That guy taught me so much. And Jay's 83 or 84 years old. Still call him up, doing a lot with him. Still talk to all the IROC guys. But that was probably my big break. I was knocking around Wall Stadium, and if I hadn't have been so cocky to think, the whole reason for going to work at IROC was because I just knew that as soon as Roger Penske met me and saw me drive, I was going Indy racing, right? But they made me, I was an IROC test driver for 5 years, and I got an incredible amount of experience doing that.
Yeah, yeah.
I had the opportunity, I had the experience, I just didn't have the talent.
Yeah, but your talent obviously was somewhere else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and again, I'm okay with that. I remember working with Jeff, or working with, I worked with Foyt, Andretti, with Unser, with Earnhardt, with Petty. Like, I've worked with, you name it, I've worked with those guys. And you're like, you know what? I'm okay. I'm okay with where I'm at, because I'm never gonna be able to do what that guy does. No matter what. I don't care if I'm driving for 100 years. I'll be good, but I'm never going to be that good. Guys like Earnhardt, Gordon, Unser Jr., Andretti, they're just special. Like, they're just, they've got something that, it's like Jordan or somebody. Their sense of time, like 1 second to me and you is boom. 1 second to them is like, they're looking around. It's different world. That IROC was a really great experience for me.
I can.
Ray, you go from that to owning your own team, 2001, 2010. Then Dodge tells you revive, come back. You partner up with Petty. Talk to us about that time frame in your life.
Towards the end of '99, in '98, we set about every record you could set with a 24 car. We won 13 races. Like, for 96, 97, 98, or in 95, in that 4-year span, we won 1/3 of the races NASCAR put on with one car. Wow. So, and we were all kind of burned out looking for something new. And Dodge was talking about coming back and offered me a deal. And it was not so much about being a team owner, but it was as much about being able to help develop an engine and pretty much develop a car from scratch, and then put a parts program together. And I really wanted to see if I could do it. We did it. We did it in less than 500 days, from drawing board to racetrack. We sat on the front row for the Daytona 500. The Dodge won races that first year, including my team. Took Bill Elliott back to victory lane after 7 years. And it was amazing, but I wasn't enjoying it, because the bigger we got, and the more we did, adding cars, running races, doing this, doing that, the less I actually got to work on the car. The less, I always tell everybody, I promoted myself, I was the Peter principle for sure, promoted myself to the level of incompetency. All of a sudden, I'm running this huge organization, racing 4 racing 3 Cup cars, 1 Busch car, a truck, an ARCA car. I had 450 people, sponsors all over the place. There's
Good God.
12 tractor trailers moving every weekend, 3 airplanes, crazy stuff. And I'm thinking, man, like, what am I doing? This is not. So I just wasn't enjoying it. We had good success, and I had a private equity company come in and offer to buy me out. So they bought majority interest, and they're the ones who actually partnered with Petty. We had been doing engines for Petty. We did it. So again, right? Richard Petty, he's the friggin' king.
Yeah.
King. AJ Foyt, greatest race driver from America. And I'm doing engines for AJ Foyt and for Richard Petty, and I'm thinking, they're going to find out. I don't know. They're going to find out I'm an imposter. I know, right? But it's like,
I think people can relate to that.
In the morning, how do you get here, right? And the truth is, I had a lot of great people around me. But had an engine shop in England that was building connecting rods, pistons. We were doing valve springs, crazy stuff, right? And I just wasn't having fun. So I sold out 2007, and I was supposed to run the competition side. They were going to run the business side, and that never works, right? The businessman came in, got involved with the competition. My New Jersey, I said, I'm out of here. You know what I mean? It was like, so I went Jersey and quit. And they said, well, you're a non-compete, so you can't race us. Like, that's fine. I went and did TV, and I had a friggin' blast. Like, I worked at ESPN with those people. It was an incredible experience, like doing the races, but going to ESPN in Hartford, Connecticut, or in Connecticut, or Bristol, Connecticut on Monday with all the football guys and basketball guys. I spent 4 or 5 years at ESPN, and it was a friggin' blast. So again, everything works out, and and now I'm trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up.
Go
ahead, John.
I sat with Petty one time, interviewed Petty in Randleman, and I asked him. This messed me up when I asked him. I said, "Listen, there was a rumor that your brakes gave out at 200, but you kept running." And I'm expecting him to go, "Oh yeah, I remember that." He turns to me and he says, "Do you remember what track that was?" He says, "Because that happened a lot. I'd never stop." Yeah. And I just thought to myself, I said, "How did you slow down? What did you do?" He goes, "I would just downshift." And I just went at 200 miles an hour. It just knocked me over. I'm like, well, wait a minute, what? But he had amazing stories from the get-go. We really should have Richard on. He's like 86 years old at this point, but still.
But he's sharp as a tack, man. Like, he's sharp as a tack. The guy
he's still involved.
He's one time. So we were coming back from California, right? And I needed to ride back. I might have been doing TV. I might not have been racing. So I might have been doing TV. So I bummed a ride back from California on Petty's plane. So we jump on the plane, and I get to sit right across from Richard, right? So the poor guy, 4 hours straight coming back from Fontana, I'm asking him questions. He's finally looking at me like, do you ever stop talking? Everybody else is asleep, and I am just grilling Richard Petty. I'm thinking to myself, there is no way that I'm sitting straight across from Richard Petty for 4 hours and not ask. I asked him everything, I think, his boot size and hat, everything. I mean, you just think about if you were a huge baseball fan.
Yeah. And
you got the opportunity to sit across from Babe Ruth or Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the great part about motorsports, like the Foyts, the Andrettis. hey, we just lost the Unsers, right? They're not going to be here forever.
Yeah.
So when you get the chance to talk to them guys, like I said, I was waiting for Richard to tell me to shut up and go to sleep.
He's
some cool
a nice guy.
Oh, super guy. Super guy.
Yeah. When I met him, it was Discount Tire was having their yearly event at Vegas, and we were in, I think it was season 2 of Car Fix, and we did some stuff with Discount Tire, and they invited us, and that's when I met him, and it was, man, nicest guy. The thing that impressed me so much about Richard Petty, Travis Pastrana was there, Richard Petty, me. There was a motocross guy and some other celebrities, and they put everybody down at a table, and you just walk down the aisle and get an autograph. Everybody that stood in front of Richard Petty, he engaged them. He shook their hand. He said hello to him. He talked to him. I'd never seen that before, and I'm sitting there with this motocross guy. At the time, he was the champion. I cannot remember his name, but I said, "Man, I gotta pee," and he goes, "So do I. But if he don't get up, I ain't getting up." I'm like, "I'm with you on that."
He's the king. He's the king.
Yeah, and then that's
Man,
why, you know.
it was amazing. Everybody, and you know, that was like the first time I'd ever really signed autographs, because I usually don't sign them. Not that I don't want to. Most guys want to talk to me about their car. So after that, I make it a point to engage the people. I've always engaged them, but like it was just different the way he did it. It was crazy. I'd never seen anything like that before.
I was in his shop. I was in his shop, and Murph tells me, he says, the King's got laser beam fries. He says he can see when something's a quarter inch off. I said, what the? King comes out. They're building a car. It's got a roll cage in it. King stands. He's looking at the front windshield. He goes, yo, this side here is off compared to this side here. He goes, somebody check this. And they're like, we measured, put it in. Yeah, it's off just by a little bit. He goes, fix it. And I just looked at him, and he's like 78 at the time, 80 years old. I was just like, what the? And it was true. I mean, he proved it just like that. But he can see something from a distance and goes, that's not right. I mean, he still has it together. I mean, you know, this is a couple of years ago, but I'm like, what the? I couldn't even see. I can't see anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But his stories were just amazing, really amazing. You know, I asked him
when
about
you think about it, and when you hear him from him, you're like,
oh yeah,
you know it's gospel. You know, when you're hearing it from the stories from them, you know, it is. You know, that was what was cool about being around that whole IROC deal. Listen to those guys tell stories, because you're thinking, I'm getting to hear stuff firsthand. I can tell my grandkids someday, look, I heard that from that guy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And there was a lot of stories, because the guys in the shop would tell me, you know, they did this. Yes, the King used that. Never happened.
Yeah.
He would
hey, well, what about what about the size of his fingers? Like, Jeff Gordon, me and Jeff, like I don't drive. So when I said me and Jeff had a thing. If he was going to mess up and wreck, it was always with the 43 car. So he wrecked the King's car 3 or 4 times, right? Yeah. And noticed anything, whatever. So we're in Texas, and Jeff does something. He gets in the corner, and I think he got in the back of John Andretti, causes a big wreck. Boom, boom, boom. Our car's wrecked. 43's wrecked. These other cars are wrecked. We're sitting on pit road, red flags out. All of a sudden, here comes King Richard walking towards us. And he's got those laser eyes focused right on the windshield of our car and Jeff Gordon. And he's hot. Yeah. Right? And Jeff like, don't let what he's coming, don't let. I was like, hey, that's the King. You know, you're on your own.
Yeah.
King leans in the window, and you know, all I could see is he's in the window net, and he's like this and pointing and this and this and this and this, right? Yeah. And Jeff's nodding, right? King turns around, you know, with his chalk, pops the thing, puts some in, looks at me like, and I was like, well, I'll drive it. I'll just sit up here and I just sit in the radio. And I said to Jeff, what did he say? And Jeff said, I have no idea, but he was mad. And his finger is 12 inches long.
Yeah. Good dude. He's definitely a good dude. And they call him the King. He is the King. No doubt about it.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Yeah. He's done so much single-handedly for our sport. It's incredible.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And it's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah. Like when I first moved down here in, I think it was 95, I had never seen fans at that time like NASCAR fans. They're giving away cars that are stickered up like Earnhardt's car and stickered up like the Tide car. I'd never seen that before. It was the craziest thing to me. You know what I mean? It was nuts. And when you talk to the fans, they're like, we won 7 championships. Did you see what we won this week? Like they're invested in it, you know? So yeah, I could imagine that.
Hey, and you go to a wedding and it wasn't bride or groom, it was Ford or Chevy. You know what I mean?
Right. It's crazy. It's so nuts.
Right. Talk to us about Big Iron Garage.
That's what I was just going to ask him about.
Yeah, let's get into that because I'm going to hear about the 58 Chevy from American Graffiti.
Yeah.
Tell me the story. I remember the show, but tell me the story without remind us.
Big Iron was just us screwing around. We wanted a place to have our own things, because the whole Ray Evernham Enterprises, we have this thing about when you see a pretty cool car, a cool airplane or something, you'd be like, damn, that's Big Iron right there, And that car that you're showing a picture of, believe it or not, in 1973, I was 15 and saw the movie American Graffiti and fell in love with that car and have dreamt about it forever. That is the car from American Graffiti that Candy Clark wrote in as Debbie and Steve lent the Toad and whatnot. And the guy that I bought the car from bought it from Lucasfilms in 1972 after the film was made, and he had it for years, showed it, and then finally put it up for sale. And I ended up negotiating. I had tried to buy the car from him several times and couldn't. Then it went to auction, didn't sell, and we finally were able to make a deal on it. But it was in kind of rough shape. So we went through a really painstaking, crazy restoration on that car. My friends from Exalta came in. They helped sponsor that restoration. And, we put the car back exactly like it was in the movie. Not that there were a lot of things changed on it, but, the paint had faded because it was lacquer. So we had to do all these different paint deals. And the interior, in the movie, she says, "Oh, I love tuck and roll." We took the interior out and sent the interior in the car down to Bobby Alloway at Knoxville. And Bobby's interior guy cleaned it, re-dyed it, restitched it, fixed it. That is the original interior, right?
No way.
That's pretty cool.
We took the chrome off the car and straightened it and put it like, I did not want anything. The only things that we replaced were like ball joints, tie rods, brake shoes, things like that. When he backs into a guy at a traffic light, in Edsel or something. Remember that? I left that again, that because it moved the bumper forward and put a dent in the quarter panel of the car. I left that in it. So that car, the nuts and bolts, we took the nuts and bolts, cleaned them and replated them and built the car with the same nuts and bolts that were in it. It was crazy. It was expensive. It was time consuming, but that car is so friggin' original. It's crazy. Like even the stripes on the side, we digitized all that stuff because they're not perfect. They were just kind of spray bombed on. Movie. It was a red car. They painted it white, spray bombed those stripes on it, and nothing was right. The hood didn't fit right. We made all those gaps that were improper again. The laser stripe, the stripes, we did it exactly like it was in the movie. And then we take it to friggin' SEMA, and it's that time. We were going to kick it off the day after Halloween. We unload the car and dress up as the American Graffiti guys, and we take the thing riding around Vegas, the real car. People like, "Oh wow, that's really cool. You guys, you got to replicate." Like, "No, this is a real car." They're like, "No." People would So we were supposed to unveil it the next day and have this big unveiling. And we were driving it around Vegas the night before we were supposed to unveil it.
That's awesome. Pretty cool, man. That is pretty. Where's the car now? You still have it?
Yeah, it's in my collection. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
You can't get rid of that car.
No, that's a car again. That car, for me, I've always been in love with cars, but that was the car. For some reason, I fell in love with it. And as a kid, you dream, you have this fantasy, and then all of a sudden, again, here comes Forrest Gump. We're shooting Americana out in California, and we go into this Hollywood movie studio deal. I go, "Oh, you guys have got a replica." The guy goes, "No, that's it. He sent it here to get it ready. It's going to auction." Bang. Like if I wasn't shooting Americana, I'd have never seen it. I'd have never, again, we had to negotiate for a long time to get it, but it's all timing.
Man.
What's funny when you say about the stripes being messed up, but you got to put them back. The hood's messed up. The alignment's messed up.
Yeah.
I feel that same way about this Cheech and Chong car because a lot of it is booged up and ghetto. And I make the car straight, then I got to set it backwards to make the thing look like it did back then, because that's what they had in the movie. It's almost a weird feeling, because you're like, get this thing right. Okay, now mess it up. It's the first time ever for me to do that. You know what I mean? But it's definitely strange. So when you say that, I'm totally relating. But that was a key car in that movie, being stolen, the fight. But yeah, him backing in. I'm not going to report you now, but I'll let you go this time. And takes off. But yeah, the whole that whole movie was cool. The whole thing,
and a lot
the
of
music,
the cars
the
still
soundtrack.
exist. You know, the 55 obviously exists, and I think Rich Figari's got the 32. You know, so that that exists. I know the white T-Bird that Suzanne Summers drove still exists, and I've not seen it, but the Pharaohs, Chop Merck, the one that Brian Setzer had for a while, that car is supposedly sitting in New York in a lot, kind of just rotting away.
Really?
Yeah. I got my Falfa hat.
So there you go.
We get that 55. I'm ready.
Surely that can't be your car. That must be your mom's car.
Yeah.
My favorite
green and piss yellow.
Is it? Oh God, Bo, the Pharaohs. When he's talking to Richard, I met him. I can't remember his name. He just passed. When he's telling Richard Dreyfuss, you get a Leatherman jacket said Pharaohs on it.
Yeah, Bo Hopkins. Yeah.
Yeah, he died.
Yeah, he did.
He just died recently. He lived in South Carolina.
Yeah.
Before we run out of time, what's the deal with the Pikes Peak car? I didn't know that you ran Pikes Peak.
Yeah. I just wanted to build something without rules. We got into this vintage racing, right? So then we realized I love the modifieds. 1936 Chevy modifieds was what I watched growing up. I was like, let's build one. And then we realized, well, we couldn't really run it on the oval and build it the way we wanted to. And I wanted to build it with new technology, but look old school. So then we said, oh, we'll go play on the vintage road races with it. And we got this idea, let's go run Pikes Peak, because we were going to do it with Al Unser Jr. He's a good friend of mine. He was going to drive it. And it came that he couldn't. And I was like, well, I'll just drive it myself. And I was like, you can't run Pikes Peak, whatever. We built this car. It's a 1936 Chevy. He had made 840 horsepower at the rear wheels, 410 cubic inch SB2, all aluminum, electronic fuel injection. It's full underbody car, like aerodynamic. I did the front suspension, rear suspension on it. Makes almost 3,000 pounds of downforce at 180 miles an hour.
Damn.
Yeah, it's the thing is it's a badass race car, air jacks and the whole deal. You know, it runs on par with the current Trans Am cars when we take it to the road race, which is really funny because, you know, the Trans Am guys are like, what the hell was that? You know, I put Boris Stead in it and it was like, what was that? But we went to Pikes Peak as rookies, and it was the most amazing thing I've ever done behind the wheel of a race car. And we actually was pretty neat. We entered the class and we won our class against some stiff competition, really. Reese Miller and the Bentley group were who we raced. People were expecting us to run about 11-minute, 30-second time up the mountain. We did it in 10 minutes, 11 seconds, which was really unheard of. And as you can see, the last half mile I had to run in snow. Get to the top of the mountain, you know what you're going to get. And again, just an incredible event. It was crazy. I was 60 years old when we did that, right? So my 60th year was fantastic. You know, I got into the NASCAR Hall of Fame, and then I got to be in the Pixar Cars movie. We had this big, cool party with a lot of friends coming. And most people don't get a chance to go to Pikes Peak and Pebble Beach in a lifetime.
Yeah.
Right. We went and won our class at Pikes Peak in June, and we won our class at Pebble Beach in August. And, again, freaking Forrest Gump, I'm telling you. Like,
that is
it's
so
like,
crazy.
You don't give yourself enough credit.
We just
give
show
yourself
up, and all of a sudden, this stuff happens. Like, all right, we're just going to go to Pikes Peak.
Ray, you say that, but that shit ain't true. I got a couple questions. Ray, I know exactly what you're talking about. I got a couple questions. One, the first one, and getting inducted into the Hall of Fame, NASCAR Hall of Fame. Two, I know you talk Forrest Gump, you talk luck. I was here at the right place, right time. But if you were to give somebody advice, because Lou and I always talk about why do we do this? What do we do it for? Who? We're hoping somewhere somebody next generation, some kid looks at this, Googles it, and goes, let's see what Ray's story is. What advice do you have to a kid that may be watching this today, tomorrow, 3 years from now, that has a dream that says, I want to get into racing, I want to do what Ray did? And then finally, I want you to talk, because we only have a few minutes. I know I'm throwing a lot of shit at you. Your charity that you have. I want to talk about that before we roll, and how people can help out and do their thing before we jet out. But those three things, and I hope you remember what I just said.
Well, I think the Hall of Fame, the NASCAR Hall of Fame, that's certainly when you're inducted into the Hall of Fame and voted in there by your peers.
Yeah.
And you think, okay, I have been recognized. I've done something in my sport that means something. And, it's a very humbling thing, because you immediately think about all of the people who helped you get there. And that's what that's all I can think of. I would not be where I am had I not had all of these people help me. Hundreds of people, like whether they lent me a dollar or they taught me something. I felt like that night I could look them in the eye and say, they didn't waste their time on me. And that made me feel good, that the people who took the time to help me didn't waste their time or their money. Then as far as telling kids, and I tell kids this all the time, the most important thing is never let anybody tell you you can't do something.
Exactly.
Do not. If you want to do something, you go friggin' do it. Like if I listened to everybody that told me I wasn't going to be able to do something, or don't do it or whatever, I'd be selling friggin' yogurt in Sandy Hook, New Jersey right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, do not. If you believe in yourself and you're willing to work hard enough, long enough, you're going to be successful. Don't ever let anybody tell you you can't. You can't.
That's great.
Do anything. And I don't even. Oh, my charity.
Yeah, your charity. Talk to us about that.
My son's a really special person, leukemia survivor as an infant, and then found out he was autistic. And we have a group that started these clubhouses to help young adults on the autism spectrum transition into the community. Because when a kid with autism, gets past the high school senior age, there's not a lot out there. And we have some incredible success stories about finding jobs and unlocking some great things for these kids. So it's our charity is called Evernham Family Racing for a reason. But if you go to the Autism Society of North Carolina, ASNC/Ignite, it'll tell you all about our clubhouses in the North Carolina area and how you can help. But the biggest thing is to create awareness. Read up, understand what autism is, because autism is really, it's a social disorder, and people with autism just need to be a little bit communicated with and have a little bit different environment, but beautiful and wonderful people.
That's fantastic. I'll tell you, Ray, I appreciate you coming on. This is like a pinch me moment. You know what I mean?
Oh man, I wish I want to come on again, because I'm telling you right now, I'm going to work on my background and stuff.
You guys can make that happen. We can make that happen.
And all kind of cool stuff on there, and I'm thinking,
I'm almost done.
I was afraid to bring my glass of wine up. I mean, damn.
We get liquored. I get liquored up. Lou's the straight guy. I get screwed up by this time. But we got sponsors to prove it, so we're good.
Yeah, we're getting there. I'm gonna have to tap you up for maybe get some NASCAR guys in here and talk to them about making less money.
Let me tell you, especially the guys that are retired, because I find out, you want to talk to a NASCAR guy about how fast he used to be, they'll give you hours.
Yeah. Well, our thing is this is more like cataloging everything for later generations. That's what that's the whole reason for this. I mean, yeah, it's car oriented, but if someone's got a really good story, it doesn't have to be car story, because last week we had a combat veteran. He's a grunt Marine, 5 tours over there, and he's helping families. He's helping guys and their families hold it together. And he said to us last week, the fastest growing group of homeless veterans as single moms would have never known that.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And he's set apart farms. The dude, he told us, he's like, hey, I was messed up for a long time, but he's got it together and he wants to help. He's got a great story, and that's what we're looking for. It's not, yeah, the cars are important, don't get me wrong, because we're car guys. But when you get a story like that, you have to tell people. You just have to.
Well, that's what, we're finally working on a book. It won't be out till December next year, but the name of it is Trophies and Scars, right? Because it's really all about, I got a lot of trophies, but there's a lot of scars, along the way. And I tell everybody, like, I love, so if you want to tell stories, we'll tell some stories, and I'll promise that even most of them will be true.
Yeah.
With success, there's a price to be paid. It just doesn't come. I mean, you joke around and you say, right place, right time. And you're like, because, you're pinching yourself going, why me? But realistically, there's mad talent there, Ray. I appreciate you coming on. But if we can get Hendricks on and talk to him about, his past, what he's doing and his involvement, that would be great too.
If you could ever, Rick Hendrick is an incredible person. There's a lot of people, if you could get in line, but the key thing, Rick Hendrick's really a car guy. It's a real, Rick Hendrick's a legit car guy. His whole empire started, buying and selling used Corvettes and making pieces. Like, Rick's a real car guy. So I would say that you probably got a shot at getting him on over some business thing. Because he likes to talk about it.
Yeah, he definitely has a story to tell from 0 to 100.
Yeah.
Right. And it's an inspiration to people that follow behind him.
Yeah. Again, there's in the area you're in, Lou, gosh, there's a lot of stories.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Come on, you're a pretty famous car guy down here. You got to knock on. You got to start calling in some that. We're gonna work together some more, help build up that auto fair with the Smith family, right? And and we need to get some car guys lined up for you.
Hey, I'm on board.
Good stories.
We can make it happen. We'll make it happen. Okay. I'm supposed to be there for the Spring Fit Auto Fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ed told me he wanted me back, so I'm gonna go.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. I love going. It's
right. Before you jet, Americana, the show, the physical show, not the TV show.
Yeah.
I saw you posted about it. I didn't even know it existed until I was researching. But talk to us about that and the term.
Yeah, we do a dinner and we do a car show. Been doing it at it's Train now. It used to be the Ingersoll Rand Complex in Davidson, where our first Ignite Center is at, and that supports that Ignite Center. Okay. Car people are incredible. They come, they donate. Had 600 cars show up this year. They donate for the cause, and the more cars come, the more sponsors we get. This year, again, my NASCAR friends, the car group, whatever, raised $500,000 that we're going to donate to Ignite. And 600 cars, 5,000 spectators, more people than we've ever had, more sponsorship. We get incredible stuff there, and people love it. They come, they line up. They're lined up at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. They're in the park by 2 o'clock. They go out and they say, man, it's a great show because it's so eclectic. Like Americana is about, you could see a 64 Volkswagen next to some incredible street rod, next to a monster truck, next to a traditional hot rod.
Right.
Next to race cars. It's like where a guy like Rob Kaufman just drives in driving his Ferrari F40. It's like we got it all there.
When is it? How do they track it, follow it?
It's always the Saturday of Thanksgiving weekend. So, because I always figure by Saturday morning, people want to get out of the house Thanksgiving weekend. So we have the dinner on Friday night after following Thanksgiving, and the show is Saturday morning.
Where at?
Yeah.
It's at the Train complex on Beatty Road in Davidson, North Carolina.
Is there a
website?
Went to
the first one.
Instagram? How do they follow along to remind?
It's just AmericanaLive.com.
Okay.
Yeah,
you announce stuff on your Instagram too, right? You're on.
Yeah. You can follow. I'm just on Twitter and Instagram. I'm just Ray Evernham.
There you go.
I'm going to change it to Forrest Gump, but that was already changed.
Run, Forrest, run.
All right.
Thanks a million, Ray. We appreciate you coming on.
Loose.
Very cool. Very cool.
Till next time.
Gracie.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Ray. Man. Forrest Gump of NASCAR. That is the funniest thing.
He's pinching himself. That's what it is. That's fantastic. Yeah, what a cool guy.
All right, so we're done for this season.
Don, I think we pick up, what did we say, the 8th, February 8th?
February 8th, yeah. February 8th.
How do they get a hold of us?
3leftsdon't@gmail.com.
The heaviest shit I ever smoked, man. I mean, I smoked a lot of shit before, man. But goddamn, man, that's heavy shit. You okay? I can't breathe.
3leftsdon't@gmail.com. Get a hold of us. Next season, we're going to do some viewers projects. We haven't done that. We didn't do that this year. This season, I should say. Yeah. But yeah, we're gotta try and make this thing happen. All right, Bob.
Falfa. Got my 55 out front. Probably you got the 32 behind you. I think I kicked the shit out of you, but we're good.
But yeah, so that's what we'll do. And I'm gonna get back and getting guests. Hopefully,
we made a list. We have
I'm gonna ask Ray if he helped me get some. He's got good people. You know he does.
Oh, he mentioned some people. I mean, yeah, and you know what? He did a fantastic job. We meshed. I think that he'd tell people that we're harmless, even though we're a little stupid. The guys are a little slow, but you got to have some patience. Good guys, but what you see is what you get. 220, 221, whatever it takes.
All right, well, cool, man. Let's do this. All right,
Lou, money's on the dresser. See you on the other side.
All right, John, later. All right, everybody, I hope you enjoyed the show. I thought it was a great time listening to Ray, aka Forrest Gump of NASCAR. We'll be back February 8th. You guys have a good evening. Have a good holiday. Enjoy. Later.